With a developing story, Larimer County jurors now deliberating the fate of the man accused of starting this devastating fire last October. The fire destroyed one building and damaged another. 7 News reporter Lindsay Sablan was in the courtroom today as both sides argued their point one last time. Lindsay, the jury has a lot to consider.
They have 4 weeks of testimony and dozens of pieces of evidence to take into account. And today, as the prosecutor was giving their final fight, the suspect, Benjamin David Gilmore, seemed a little bit more on edge than usual. His lawyer even putting his head in his hands at times. And you can see the Occupy Fort Collins protester shaking his head as the prosecution tells the jury
that ripped through the penny flats last October. 7 News reporter Tyler Lopez just stepped out of the courtroom. And Tyler, the prosecution just wrapped up.
Just wrapped up the first part of it. It did
Gilmore
start
took
late,
his
though,
obsession with the Occupy Fort Collins movement too far. They also pointed to a key piece of evidence, a Rolex watch found in the debris that belonged to Gilmore. The defense says Gilmore lost that watch and says it had to be someone else that was hanging
Lindsay Sablan was in the courtroom when both sides pleaded to the jury one last time. Lindsay, prosecutors say they have one key piece of evidence.
And that is a Rolex watch belonging to 30-year-old Benjamin David Gilmore that investigators found inside the Penny Flats building where this devastating fire happened.
He told the jury the defendant was knowingly setting a 20,000-foot bonfire with residents sleeping only 32 feet away. He concentrated on a $4,000 watch owned by the defendant found at the fire scene, and also talked a lot about the fact that he kept wearing black leather gloves as if to hide injuries for days after the fire. Now, the defense has answered those questions, saying that Gilmore hurt his hands in a fire incident before this blaze broke out. The defense is up now. They've got an hour.
The defense also said that Gilmore did not have a motive, but prosecutors say that is not true.
We have a man who got a little obsessed with this Occupy movement, got excited, wanted to be a part of it, was a leader in that, and with that he took it to the extreme.
Travesty. This is miscarriage of justice.
How can you work in that profession and not practice what you preach and make sure?
I think the decision had been made to blame Mr. Gilmore.
They were at the fire scene. The bike helmet and the sterno can were right next to the fire scene, and I think they should have to answer that question to the public.
The suspect that they should have processed properly and ruled out openly was Mr. Clutter, who admitted to setting the fire. That right there was enough to have a mistrial, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. And did you feel like they even addressed how the watch was found at the fire scene?
I didn't feel like it was addressed adequately at all.
They handpicked pieces of testimony. They used the evidence. They didn't produce it all. They didn't properly handle or test evidence.
There's a perfectly valid other explanation for why this watch might have been in the residue.
It's crazy. I can't believe this case went this far without Mr. Clutter's testimonial evidence, without him being booked and processed, properly processed, photographed, fingerprinted, DNA, and all the other things that you do to rule out a suspect. He wasn't properly ruled out. He was not.
They messed up by letting this guy go.
You've got somebody that we know made an admission, we know said that he had planned to, versus a businessman with a wife and, I mean, at this point, a child at home.
In any type of law enforcement investigation, what constitutes the most reliable form of the truth?
Evidence.
That they had sent to California to a lab and then said, just send it back, don't test it. Why? Why not?
You're going to collect evidence, send evidence to a place where they take evidence off of said evidence, not take evidence off of said evidence, send it back and give it back. Really? I don't know.
The prosecution did know that Clutter had been identified at the scene by the arson dog. What are your thoughts about why the officials who were involved in investigating this fire failed to test those items of evidence.
That's targeting right there. You don't know what that evidence would have produced.
The police did one interview of this primary suspect, one interview, and that's from themselves saying that. Nobody saw the taped interview.
They knew it was him. They had him arrested at the scene. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, how much more do you need?
He told them he didn't light the fire, even though other people said he did, and even though he admitted telling other people he did and was going to. But that didn't matter. The fact that he said he didn't do it was enough to put him on a bus out of town, and that's what the detectives did.
The evidence did not seem concrete. It didn't seem convincing to me at all. The worst thing was the watch. I mean, come on, you don't leave your driver's license, your wallet in a crime scene, no matter what.
I believe the insurance payout rule had something to do with having a suspect in custody and then prosecuted and convicted instead of considering the fact that the building site did have security breaches, did have trash and clothing and other things found by workers.
That is the critical step that we failed here. Had the procedures and the methodologies of 921 been observed in the investigative stages, Benjamin Gilmore would never have been charged with this crime.
Are you looking for something to sweeten up your life? There's nothing sweeter than Copaco's honey. Try one of our 11 honey flavors from chocolate to strawberry. It's all natural and it's real Northern Colorado made. We have everything from beeswax candles to beekeeping supplies. Bring the family and learn all about the honeybee and our giant beehive. Copaco's honey. It's a sweet part of life.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I know you want to get this over with and go home. My name is Benjamin David Gilmore, and normally I'm very reserved and very quiet. But tonight, I feel compelled that I need to address you.
We are playing Monopoly with a 5-year-old in charge of the bank, making up the rules, and a lot of people are still trying to play the game and play by their rules. And it hasn't worked, has it? No, it's, 20% of the population votes, so, and, like 10% of that actually make the rules, So, that's the minority ruling the majority. And most of the laws, especially ordinances and things of that nature, like legalize paragliding in Larimer County, I didn't vote to illegalize it. I don't think anybody did. So that's a big case of Big Sister telling us what to do. Oh, that's dangerous. You can't do that. I think I should be able to make up my own mind what I can do or not do. I'd love to go paragliding. I've never been. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Give the big banks and the politicians back that paper. It ain't worth a thing. It's IOUs. It's a check. And that check ain't worth anything. And I personally will redeem your IOUs for gold, copper, and silver. And I will give those paper IOUs back to the bank. And I will tell them where to put it.
I'm not surprised it turned out the way it did, because that's the way they wanted it to turn out. So I wasn't allowed to present my case and, address things that came up in court even, If a guy like me would be convicted like this because of spin, by masters of spin, they spin it any way they want to make you look guilty. If I'm not safe, no one is.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're playing now. In the War of 1812, the Congress of this country did not renew the charter with the First National Bank because this was a free economy. People could use whatever they wanted to do business. They said, you either renew the charter with us or we will finance Britain to come to war with you again. They did. We won. Again, we beat the British. Our founding fathers, warned us of a two-party system George Washington's farewell address. He warned us of a two-party system of rivalry, blue versus red. Please stop playing this game. Allow us to be free. So I'll ask you, please, can you give the Occupy movement the permission to do what we want, to stay where we are? You give other things permission to drink, to have special events. Please, we're asking you. Let us continue. Let us be free. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address council? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for council follow-up to citizen participation.
What motivates you to speak out about Benjamin Gilmore's case?
I'm convinced of his innocence. Absolutely convinced that he was innocent. Any law enforcement officer would allow this to continue, and someone should have put their foot down and stopped this.
Is it too late for someone to put their foot down?
No, it's not too late.